All right, I'm live. Hey, this is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. And I just made a video real quick, and then I came over here to this function that I'm doing. This is our calves that we got 2 weeks ago. And it's quite a deep subject here, these calves. But I just told you that watch the animals and see where they go. And then you can decide where you're going to put your housing for them, and then I came over here. And last night, I knew we were going to be getting some serious cold weather. So this was my last stop before I went in. These calves came to us 2 weeks ago, and there was 3 of them. Now there's only 2 of them. One of them passed. They were in an industrial agricultural setting, and they developed lung issues because they're in buildings that had a million other calves, and it's hard to keep the ammonia under control the way they do it. And so the calves get weak, and they develop lung issues. And then, as you may have seen, one of the calves, the one that died, it couldn't get enough oxygen, so it died right in here peacefully. And we butchered it for dog food. And I showed some of that, and Facebook doesn't like that, so I won't be doing that anymore. But I want to back up on what I said about allow the animals to find their safe place, I guess we'll call it, or their warm spot, or their cool spot. We lose far more animals to the heat than we do the cold. All right, mostly because if we consider chickens in that mix, if we have a real hot spell in the wintertime and we start losing them, we can lose quite a few if we're not careful. But that's another thing. It's like the cold. When you know the heat is coming and you're cognizant of it, there's steps you can take to make sure that you don't wind up in a train wreck. But in the past, we've lost far more to heat than we have cold. In the cold, the problem is, like with these calves, is they're babies. So they don't have a whole lot of wisdom. So you have to do the thinking for them. They will stand there in a north wind and freeze solid and not know enough to get out of it. So that's why what I told you in the last video is not necessarily like rule of thumb, because when it comes to babies or very young livestock, you got to do the thinking for them. What I did last night was I came and made sure that they had plenty of bedding in here. And let me be clear about this bedding issue, because I had a question yesterday. Hay is dried grass. Straw are stalks and stems from a grain crop like wheat or barley or oats. All right. Straw is usually yellow and hay is green. And there's a huge difference between the two. Huge difference between the two. If you're ever in a position where you can experiment, lay down on a hay bale and see how that feels, and then lay down on a straw bale. It's very, very warm. I mean, because it pushes your heat back at you. Well, it does the same thing for the animals. So what I did is I made sure that they had plenty of bedding in here in their huts. I got 2 huts here, and of course there's 2 calves, and one was in this one was in that one. So I dragged one over into this one, so their body heats would be together. And once you put them in here, as soon as it's dark, they don't go out and wander around. And then before I went to bed at midnight, I stayed up late last night intentionally to see if we're going to get any wind. Because if we got wind coming out of the south, which is the way that this porta hut is clocked, This is a very temporary thing. I can move these things around by hand or with the tractor. They come from Farm Tech, by the way. The way I have these clocked right now, you mean positioned, you know, think of like clock, like a clock face. I have the opening facing due south. And you could argue that we could have the opening facing southeast would probably be even a little bit better, because the sun's going to come up right over there, and we want as much sun washing into this as possible. I wouldn't want this thing in the shade. Now there's going to be days when we don't have any sun at all, which, you know, we've had so much of that this winter. But there is still some radiation that comes in, even though there's a cloud cover. But like now, it's 5 below, and I'm sitting here, and I feel like sitting some more and some more. You know, it's really enjoyable sitting here and feeling that sun on me. And I have some dark clothing on, so it's actually warming me up. But it's a different kind of warmth, you know, than the wood stove. So I'm really liking it. But just remember that when it comes to young livestock, it's a totally different story. You have to do the thinking for them. Real quick, I'll turn this around and show you where the pigs are sleeping. I can't hardly see this because it's... Okay. That is a group of 16 Mangalitsa pigs right there. And they are sleeping right in the open. They've got a bale of hay, not straw, it's hay, and I drop it in there for their feed, for their feeding purposes, and they eat a lot of it and they lay in a lot of it. Now there's a hut for them right over there. But for some reason, and that's got bedding in it, but for some reason they prefer to be outside and right there. And they have for years. The years that we've been using this, they always seem to congregate right there. Now, if you look at the lay of this land right here, last year I tried to get them to go on the top of that hill because it's real sandy, and I wanted them to be up there more and put more manure up there and more bedding. Nope. They wound up right down there. And this is even a different group of pigs. And they still pick that spot right there. And it's not like there's any other reason. It's just a little bit warmer there, I guess. So anyway, all right, this is Mark from Baker's Green Acres. Remember, anyone can farm. Okay, how do I shut it off from this position? Embarrassing.